The New Girl and the Quiet Guy. Sarah was new, very new. Her first day at Sunshine Bakery was a blur of unfamiliar faces and sweet, sugary smells. She was nervous. Everything was different from her old job at the library. Here, it was loud, busy, and incredibly fast-paced. She was assigned to work with Mark. Mark was quiet. Very quiet. He mostly nodded and smiled, his eyes often fixed on his task, decorating cakes with incredible precision. Sarah, on the other hand, was chatty. She tried to start conversations, but Mark's responses were short. "Hi," she'd say. "Hi," he'd reply. The first few days were hard. Sarah felt lonely. The other bakers were friendly but busy. They had their own established groups, their own inside jokes. Sarah felt like an outsider. She missed her colleagues from the library. They'd had coffee breaks together, shared stories, and even helped each other with difficult tasks. One day, Sarah made a mistake. A big one. She accidentally knocked over a tray of freshly baked croissants, sending them tumbling onto the floor. She felt her face burn with shame. She started to clean up the mess, her hands trembling. Mark, without a word, came to help. He quietly swept the floor, his movements efficient and calm. He didn't scold her or say anything critical. He just helped. After the mess was cleaned, he offered her a small, slightly squished croissant. "Sorry," Sarah mumbled, taking the croissant. Mark just smiled. A small, shy smile, but a smile nonetheless. This small act of kindness started to break the ice. Over the next few days, Sarah noticed small changes in Mark. He started to answer her questions more fully, though he still spoke softly. He'd point out interesting things: a particularly beautiful sunrise outside the bakery window, a new flavor of jam that had arrived. Sarah, emboldened by his quiet support, found herself sharing more. She talked about her cat, her love of old movies, and her nervousness about starting a new job. She discovered Mark had a passion for collecting stamps and enjoyed gardening. He even showed her his prize-winning tomatoes from his garden. Slowly, a friendship began to blossom. It was a quiet friendship, a friendship built on shared smiles, helping hands, and occasional shared lunches. It was different from the loud, boisterous friendships she'd had before, but it was comforting and reassuring. However, challenges remained. Sometimes Sarah felt frustrated by Mark's quiet nature. She wanted to have more in-depth conversations, to really explore their shared interests, but Mark seemed to retreat when the conversations got too intense or personal. She'd start talking about her worries about her family, and Mark would change the subject to the latest batch of cookies. There were misunderstandings, too. Once, Sarah offered to help Mark with his cake decorating, thinking she was being helpful. However, Mark seemed uncomfortable and even a little annoyed. Sarah felt hurt and confused. She realized later that he preferred to work alone on his intricate designs. He was proud of his craftsmanship, and it felt intrusive to him when someone offered help. Another challenge was their different work styles. Sarah was fast-paced, always eager to move on to the next task. Mark was meticulous, taking his time to ensure perfection. This sometimes led to minor arguments, Sarah wanting to rush, Mark wanting to take his time. They learned to compromise, though. Sarah would focus on tasks that needed speed, while Mark concentrated on tasks that needed detail. Then there was the issue of other co-workers. Some of the other bakers were initially skeptical of their friendship. They were used to Mark being a solitary figure, and Sarah's cheerful presence seemed to disrupt their established dynamics. Whispers and sideways glances were exchanged. They had to navigate these social dynamics, showing that their friendship wasn't a threat to others. They did so by including others in small ways, offering to help, and being consistently pleasant. Over time, however, the initial barriers started to fall. The other bakers saw how their friendship benefited the bakery, a more positive and cooperative atmosphere. The quiet collaboration between Sarah and Mark resulted in some of the bakery's most beautiful and delicious creations. One day, a large order came in, a massive wedding cake. It was a complex design, requiring both speed and precision. Sarah and Mark worked together seamlessly, their different strengths complementing each other. They completed the cake on time, to the customer's complete satisfaction. It was a triumph, not only for the cake, but for their friendship. Their friendship wasn't always easy. There were misunderstandings, frustrations, and moments of doubt. But through it all, they learned to understand each other, to appreciate their differences, and to value the quiet support and companionship they offered each other. It wasn't a loud, boisterous friendship, but it was genuine, and it was theirs. And in the heart of the bustling Sunshine Bakery, their quiet friendship became a sweet and enduring testament to the unexpected joys of workplace camaraderie.